Hello, Michael. Welcome.
I, I'm in a,
Welcome to.
I'm in a car. That's why I haven't got my video on.
No worries, no worries. Welcome. And I don't know whose iPhone. Welcome again. Hi, good to see you. I've just gone online on the Mohanji and I page too, and people are there. Welcome all those people who are watching us on the YouTube page. Welcome. And those of you who are going to watch it later, again, hope you enjoy this reading. And today we are going to be reading about a beautiful story from Guru Leela, Book 7, and it's titled They Walk with Him. They Walked with Him. And this story is by none other than Christopher Greenwood. All of you know Chris very well. He's the manager of Mohanji Center of Benevolence, Scotland, and a board member of the Mohanji Foundation. He's a CEO of the Success Empowered platform created by Mohanji. He has also traveled and worked with Mohanji as his executive assistant. Chris comes from the Isle of Man, UK, and was an IT consultant before he joined Mohanji Foundation full time. Okay, so welcome. Good to hear your voice too, Michael. And we'll start reading this lovely interview that Subhashri had with Chris. I'll try and read as much as possible. It's a long one, and maybe we can continue it in the next session. Okay. From Christopher Greenwood. I've had the fortune, privilege, and blessings to have been Mohanji's assistant for almost 3 years. During this time, I was living with him, working with, and traveling with him day in and day out, tending to his personal matters on the various projects we have established in the world to help people and raise awareness in various ways. Before meeting Mohanji, I was earning relatively well, had a good position, and had all of the typical societal success that you can imagine in life. But my work at the time wasn't giving me any satisfaction. I wanted to do something with a purpose and contribute my skills to do something more meaningful. I was searching for the deeper truths of life. I knew there was something more to this day in, day out chase for far more. I had practiced yoga for 10 years and started to ask deeper questions about its philosophy beyond the typical postures. I couldn't find the answers until I was told by a friend of a friend that someone was coming to London and that I should meet them because maybe he had an answer to these questions. At that time, I was becoming more interested and familiar with the deeper truths of yoga, consciousness, the presence of living masters, and how they help people in their journeys in life. Slowly, things started coming to me through people, books, videos, etc. When I went to see Mohanji in London, I was very skeptical. I was shocked to see people bowing down and touching his feet. I couldn't understand it. There was the ritual with a lamp, which I now understand to be Aarti, but it was still all very bizarre to me then. I had never seen anything like this before. People were chanting and some with real deep reverence and love, and some in an ecstatic way. I couldn't really correlate it to anything I experienced. My mind was forming all sorts of opinions and judgments. But when Mohanji arrived, I felt a presence. I felt that shift in the room. When I asked my questions, he spoke to me. Those words resonated so deep inside that I knew this was somebody who had either experienced what I was seeking or who could lead me in the right direction. As the session went on, I had many questions in my mind. Surprisingly, as he spoke, they were answered. And I couldn't believe it. I thought, was he reading my mind? When I had Shaktipat at the end of the session, it was a beautiful experience where I can describe it as seeing all of the teachers in my life up until that point and a feeling of deep happiness with tears and emotions of just realizing this is what I've been looking for. That was the start of my journey with Mohanji. After that, I attended as many programs as I could. I went to Kailash, practiced Kriya daily. I would travel as I was working remotely, attending programs and working at the same time, volunteering in certain projects and platforms. Until then, I never had any interaction, direct contact, or conversation with Mohanji. Maybe a smile at the most, but I really appreciated the transformation happening in my life. When the opportunity to apply to become a Mohanji Acharya came available, I finally plucked up the courage to apply. I didn't think I was eligible to attend the Acharya program. I had many insecurities at that time, but I was accepted and blessed to be able to understand more about the tradition of liberation and all of the other masters that we are connected to, such as Babaji and Shirdi Sai Baba. The journey to become Mohanji's assistant. During the Acharya training, Mohanji asked us if there was anything that he could help with and to share it with him. I thought there was nothing more he could help me with. He's given so much. However, I wrote a letter about everything that I wanted to do to help the foundation, but didn't send it. Looking back, everything I wrote in that letter and I didn't send came true, especially my deeper connection and working with Mohanji much more closely. Many tests of the mind followed, but ultimately, deep inside my heart, I knew this was the path I was looking for. I found myself progressing in awareness, and my life became more peaceful. All the things that were difficult or upsetting in life were being slowly removed. Poor relationships and negative patterns, etc. I was moving towards a better lifestyle and meeting more positive people. A few months later, there was a sudden chance to attend a very special trip to Girnar, the abode of Dattatreya, in a small group traveling with Mohanji. The way the trip happened, I realized that it was only the grace of the tradition and definitely Mohanji's acceptance. It was after this trip that Mohanji invited me to join the global summit in Sri Lanka, where all the heads of the organizations came together to discuss the plans of the future. While in Sri Lanka, Mohanji asked me to lead the corporate program, Invest in Awareness, now known as Success Empowered, and also said he was thinking of making me his assistant. What did I think about that? I was completely surprised because I've never had any real conversation or connection with him. Until then, every time I tried to meet him at programs and retreats, the assistants would say yes, and then there wouldn't be time and I wouldn't be able to meet him. This also happens now, unfortunately, to a lot of people who try to meet him as there just isn't the time. After the summit, I attended my teacher training program for the Himalayan School of Traditional Yoga in India. That's when COVID came and we were in lockdown. As soon as we could move, I joined Mohanji in his house. That's really where my experience began with Mohanji, living and working with him daily. I want to share some of those experiences here to give a different perspective of Mohanji and what it's like to live with him much more closely. So, living and working with Mohanji. This short section on how I met Mohanji is important to have some context of who I am and how I came to share my journey. I come from a factual background, a science based background. If I haven't experienced something for myself or can't see it for myself, I don't believe it. Coming to be with Mohanji, his real presence, I would say, was a shock in some way because I'd had expectations that life would be sitting in front of him in satsang, talking about great philosophies and spiritual teachings. But I quickly realized it wasn't like that. Mohanji has a fierce focus, a fierce vision, and a mission to raise the awareness of the world. His lifestyle, his actions, and every living minute are focused on that. My initial tasks were arranging his meetings and coordinating interviews. We had just moved into the COVID era where Zoom meetings were becoming a norm, and we had to get all the camera equipment set up and a schedule of online appointments. These were other daily tasks while living with Mohanji in the house with his parents, family, and a couple of other people. My routine, for example, would be to wake up at 4 a.m. and by about 4:30 a.m. I would go to Mohanji's room and talk about the tasks of the day. He would give me my list of work to do. I would work during the day, finish what I could, and come back to meet him in the afternoon and discuss where I'd got to. His pace and speed were such that when I came back, he'd have completed what he needed to, and I was still working my way through the list. Definitely not at the speed Mohanji expected. This was the first real and practical test of living with Mohanji, checking off tamas or laziness, which he does with the metaphorical kick up the rear. That's the first thing people should really know about living and walking with Mohanji. He has zero procrastination from morning to evening. And in that energy, anyone who is directly working with him needs to shift towards that pace of work too. He's busy, he's doing something, and he wakes up the next day with the thought, what more can I do to the world, for the world? That might be creating a problem, having a conversation or a meeting to move some activity forward, attending meetings or interviews, and giving directions or helping people individually. He is working from 3 to 4 in the morning when he wakes up, right through till maybe 10 to 11 when he sleeps. Even then, I wouldn't even call that sleep, as this is when most of the work begins outside his body. There are countless messages that he attends to promptly. There's no delay in what he does. Anything that comes to his desk or attention is always turned around in about 24 hours maximum, usually within 8 hours. It's an incredible work effort. Just to watch it is amazing. I've never seen anything like that. My first project, which I think is interesting to share, was in 2020. Within the organization, there wasn't much clarity on all of the platforms Mohanji had created. My first job was to create a dashboard with logos for each organization. This was the first time we had a dashboard showing the scale and the number of activities Mohanji had initiated on one page. What amazed me over the years being with him is that as soon as we had set up and established one platform, such as the Early Birds Club or the Festival of Consciousness, we would be creating one initiative after another, and we had to run to keep up to his incredibly fast pace. Because of the pace and focus on purpose, Mohanji is strict about tamas, laziness. No postponement, no procrastination or laziness. Do what you can today. When you're not in that mode, you get quite a fierce scolding, as we say. It could be via words or even just a look. He shakes you out of your tamas. I think that's the first real experience to share about living and working closely with him. His goal for everybody and his aspiration is to take them towards liberation, being liberated from all the binding factors of the mind, identity, emotions, ego, and intellect. It's basically to strip back all of that and reach what's inside us. That source, the soul or energy. To achieve this, you have to purify yourself. And the best way of purification is through service. It's through action. This is what Mohanji does. Everybody who comes in close proximity is spun into action. The majority of people are a little lazy. They tend to procrastinate, delaying things. In this path, that's non understanding because the ultimate goal for anyone deeply connected to Mohanji is the completion of their karmic agenda. Mohanji has said he's here to help people complete what they came to complete. We all arrive with a karmic agenda, whether that's unfulfilled desires or repaying past debts. When you procrastinate or delay, You're stopping this from happening, which basically means a high chance of more lifetimes. He's trying to take people to the highest in this lifetime. To achieve this, you have to move through the three states: tamas, which is inertia, procrastination, and laziness, to rajas, which is an action usually for a selfish motive like working hard to get more money and power, to sattvic action, where you work consistently without any expectation of the results. That's pure action. Then you cross over into another state called Turya, the state of witnesshood, where you become enlightened. At that point, you have crossed over the terrestrial existence and you are now established, and your journey begins towards higher awareness and states of mastery. Mohanji is making that possibility available for all those connected to him. So, when you are with him, you're making a commitment that's what you want to achieve. You have signed up to the fact that he will kick your butt, he will shake you up, he'll move you up and down to get you moving. And that was the big first lesson and the first experience that anyone has with Mohanji. The pace is so fast. You're traveling from place to place. You're never in the same bed for more than a few days. Different people, foods, climates, activities, complications, issues, handling changes in logistics, flights, bookings, travel, complaints from people or disgruntled people, all types of things you have to handle daily while progressing the tasks on important projects. This gives a view of the speed at which you're working and the environment in which you're working. No, I can't do this, or this can't be done is rarely, if at all, ever an option. For Mohanji, there is always a way. All it requires is determination and conviction. You're always pushed to achieve more than what you might have thought you could do. I'll explain an experience that was very challenging for me, actually, where the lesson was life should be free from comfort zones. Mohanji really believes that nothing grows in a comfort zone. You have to break out of it. We were traveling from India to Slovenia, our first trip after COVID, flying via Frankfurt Airport. During the transit, Mohanji and I were stopped, and he was treated horrendously. The security guards took him and his bag for close inspection, carelessly rooting through his bag and throwing out all the cards and pictures of masters. Personal pictures of his family, wife, and daughter were being roughly handled, scattered, and discarded. Questions were being asked as to why he was there, and then more guards came up to intimidate him. It was pure racial profiling, which I wrote about on humanairports.com. It was a horrible sight to see someone who gives so much to the world and has given so much to me experiencing this. When we reached Slovenia, Mohanji asked what I thought about this. And I said, "It's terrible." And he said, "Then you should speak." That launched me into a campaign for which I have no experience and pushed me outside of all my comfort zones. Until then, I was very shy. I'd be very scared to say something because of what other people think, especially on social media, in public, and especially on videos to be shown to public. Here was a situation where I witnessed severe injustice. Now I had a choice: to be passive and side with adharma, or to speak. It was a challenge for me and really a test. While traveling with Mohanji seems glamorous from the outside, you are pushed through all of your comfort zones, triggers, and insecurities. All this will be brought out to the surface through a variety of situations that happen naturally in his presence for you to work through them. It's very uncomfortable because you still have to do the work whilst all this is happening. This incident meant that I published a post on Facebook, and this got severe criticism from a variety of people within the organization. I felt really bad about it, but Mohanji said, "Keep doing it. You have to speak the truth." There will be people who criticize you. There will be people who appreciate you. You can do nothing about it. All you can do is stay true to your experience and stay true to your life. That's the best you can do. Otherwise, what are you living for? I ended up creating a website that still exists, www.humanairports.com, for people who had experienced similar harassment. We actually wrote to the police and to Lufthansa, the flight company. We made sure everybody knew this was happening and that it was unacceptable. People should be able to travel freely with respect. It was in some ways a huge success, and eventually everything came to a natural conclusion. The whole experience was a challenge for me because it pushed all my triggers inside, worries and insecurities. But it was something that had to be done. I wanted to share this because this is what it means when you're in close proximity to Mohanji. Basically, you're committing to free yourself from all of these stored inhibitions, insecurities, anxieties, and fears. It means everything inside, all of the dirt and junk, has to come out in various situations. Maybe in a previous life, I hadn't spoken up when I needed to, which stayed with me. So, this was an experience that gave me this opportunity. Mohanji has often said this isn't a feel good path, it's the path of fire, the path of Shiva and dissolution. And this is what it really means. Burning everything inside that is a barrier between you and your inner self. I mentioned Mohanji's unrelenting work ethic, the fast pace of his activities, and his absolute focus on purpose. And this can be really tough for the ego. I was a person who liked to do activities with some competence to complete things. I enjoy doing work and helping, but I can often take on too much in myself and then struggle to complete tasks. Mohanji's style is this. He will entrust you with a task when you say you want to do something and give clear instructions on what's expected and when it needs to be completed. Then comes the difficult stage when you haven't completed it or you have forgotten something and you suddenly get reminded by Mohanji. It could be a task not finished, and you're racking your brain trying to remember what that is. Then it becomes a scolding. Why haven't you done this? Where's your focus? Where's your presence of mind? You shouldn't have any absence of mind. Everything should be clear. You should have prioritized your day and you should know what you need to accomplish. He has no mercy on absent mindedness, laziness, and procrastination. It can become very, very uncomfortable. You get a reminder, and then if it's not done, you will witness somebody else doing it. And there's no discussion. This can be a hit for the ego. But this is how Mohanji operates. He has a purpose, he has a mission. Anybody is welcome to join. He's not obliging anybody to stay with him. He's also not asking anybody to do anything. But if you're committing that you want to help, then you have to do it in good time because we have work to do here. So the first time you've been given a task, the second time it's a reminder, the third time it's already gone to somebody else. And that can be a real hit to the ego, but it soon makes you realize that a show will actually go on with or without you. We have the opportunity to be available, but there's no right or guarantee to any position or role. Mohanji respects everybody who comes and gives them care, time, and love. But he is under no illusion that a lot of people just talk and they don't really do. He really loves those people who do work and he gives all his attention to them because ultimately they are doing something for the world. They are benefiting society and he empowers that. I understand his motto now. Show me if you think you can do something. Do it and then let's talk. Let's talk. More action is that operating method. One more observation of having lived and worked with Mohanji for so many years is that his life is incredibly elegant. As I got to spend so much time with him, I see him in all situations. Big events where he's talking to hundreds of people on stage in front of major dignitaries, forums such as the Parliament of World's Religions, leadership conferences, etc., where he's a grand figure and his presence and power of words are incredible, to being with his mother and father at home and behaving like a loving son. I would see him serving his mother extra food in the morning. She would have finished her plate and be very happy, but Mohanji would say, Amma, eat more. She'll be fighting with him and covering the plate to stop him from putting more food on her plate. Then he'll be pulling her cheek playfully like a small child again, teasing his mother. There's a deeper message behind this too, in that he lives a dharmic life completely. I have since learned that one of our highest dharma or duties is to our parents, our father and mother. We look after them because they are our representations of our lineage. They gave us the opportunity of life and took care of us through childhood. He does everything he can to ensure that his mother and father are looked after and comfortable. When his father had a book launch for a major book translation and an event was happening, he didn't just leave it to chance. He was involved in every single minute detail: who would speak on the stage, what they would be speaking, lighting and staging, whether the books were ready, radio, and all the logistics. And his awareness is incredible. Everything that you forget, he will remember. And it's always the things that you forget. If something could disturb the flow of anything, that's what he will pick up on because of his connection to a wider awareness. Seeing the family together and how he is with his wife Devi as well as his daughter Mila, you get to really see that he is living life fully in all aspects: work, family, parents, friends, and society. I had the fortune to travel with him in Kerala, meeting his old school friends that he grew up with. He treats them exactly the same as before. He hasn't changed. He's still there as a friend. In all areas of his life, he executes that role as best as he can. That's his teaching to people, that life is spiritual. How you are in every moment, how you are in every action, how present you are in everything, in all facets of your life: your family, work, relationships, your spiritual practices that make your life spiritual. He lives it and he walks the talk. Sitting with him for hours in the mornings during those COVID times, he would tell me all the stories about the time when he worked in the shipping and logistics industry, the various challenges and situations that happened to him and his daughter's tragic death. When we were in Dubai, he showed me where he last was with Ammu, his daughter. He had promised her that they would buy a fish tank when she came back, and we went to the store where that was promised. From his work and career, through his pain and tragedies, he handled them with elegance. That's one of his messages. Life will happen, destiny will happen. You don't have control over it. What life brings, do your best with what you have at that time and then move on. Don't carry anything. Don't have any guilt or regrets. Witnessing all this has been incredible, and most people do not get this opportunity with Mohanji. We can build an image of him, and it's not really until you are with him day in and day out that you truly begin to see the subtlety of his interactions. I'm saying this about a physical man living a life not from the point of a guru or anything metaphysical. He lives a very righteous life, always doing what needs to be done at the time and in the right way. Now we'll come to some of the experiences that people may not outwardly see in Mohanji, but definitely experience when they meet him. This is his more subtle work and how you see that represented on his body and around him. All the traveling, meeting so many people, the numerous programs he attends, all of this takes a toll on Mohanji's physical body. I mentioned before that Mohanji is here for completion, helping all those who have been connected to him leave the cycle of terrestrial birth to a liberated existence. A question here to help understand the next point: what are we? A collection of many things: a body, parents, lineage, and we are also part of a society. I understand from my journey that we have our individual karma with unfulfilled desires, merits, and demerits. We also inherit the good and bad action from our parents and the society that we live in. If it's been a country like mine, Britain, that's been responsible for wars, displacements, and various atrocities throughout the ages, then we also carry some karma from this. That's what Mohanji handles when people come to see him. They might ask for some help, and Mohanji would just say, "No problem, leave it with me." Then things are cleared, and for people, it's like a miracle. But what is happening behind the scenes can be seen through Maitri and MTM. I can witness this in my own life and feel the effect of cleansing from generational karma right through to any atrocities that my country might have committed. For example, I was on a trip and a lady who was capable of having a telepathic conversation with Mohanji came to me and said, Mohanji said, you need to go back to the original Shivalinga in the temple and pray for your people for what happened in the past. That was the original Shivalinga, the one when the British came and tried to destroy it by smashing it. But when they struck it, blood started pouring from it and they left it. I was told to go and pray there for my people as an offering of regret for what had happened in the past. And this would have cleared something on some level. Here, I was given an opportunity to help my country to have some level of redemption for that situation. He created the situation, the environment through which I could do that, and it would have cleared something for sure. After a retreat or a program, we try to give Mohanji time to rest and recuperate because he burns things within. If you notice carefully, by the end of a program, his belly will swell or maybe double in size, which will be very uncomfortable for him. Maybe there'll be something so bad that he has physical symptoms like vomiting. He's cleansing, purging in that way. One of the most extreme cases was when he gave us a warning, I think in October 2020. He said that we should make sure everything was ready and available and appointments were completed. After this date, it was going to be a challenge because some planets were shifting. He ended up having gout and was incapacitated for months. He couldn't do any programs and the pain was excruciating. You could see this on his face, and he couldn't even move from his bed to his bathroom. I used to have to stay in the room with him. Obviously, he's fiercely independent, but I would wait outside the bathroom door in case he slipped. He would take half an hour to move from a space of 5 meters. He was in that much pain and was in bed mostly. What people wouldn't have seen is that all the programs were conducted from the bed. We made it look as though he was somewhere else. Even to have a sheet touching his foot would cause excruciating pain. But Mohanji never complained. He never told anyone. That is also a message that pains will happen, but don't need to go into that state where you feel sorry for yourself. You should handle everything as much as you can. When one of the Maitri practitioners came around to heal his foot, Mohanji asked her what she saw, and she burst into tears. She just cried and cried. She had seen generations of hurt women who had been oppressed, had been victims of trauma, condemned as witches, and treated abominably. Sorry. Mohanji was relieving and clearing many things from those situations and taking that on his body. It would look like he's sick, but what he does is take on all of the trauma and somehow process it through himself. You can read about various instances of great masters doing this. They can reduce the lifetimes of people. They just take it on their body and it manifests as an illness on their body for a few days and that's it. It's gone. He does it out of mercy, compassion and love. But he'll never promote himself and does it just automatically. It doesn't matter to him if people are grateful or not. He's doing this his job. It's such a beautiful thing to witness, incredible when you see what's happening, and comes to my next point of observing Mohanji. Something which I've always been amazed at is that everybody who comes to him gets individual attention. I've seen thousands and thousands of people come to him and speak with him. True to what he says, he becomes a mirror to them. And how I've experienced it in my life is that when you encounter Mohanji, he reflects back your state. If you're happy or sad, angry or suspicious, all of those things can get reflected back to you. But more than that, he's showing you the path to achieve your highest possibility in life. We can all get distracted by various things. But when he sees that you want to achieve the highest, he shows you the necessary steps. Rather than people getting lost in the woods, he's carving a clear path for people to walk. That might mean clearing things physically, financially, or something else. Whatever it is, the guidance that he gives to that person will be specific to them. And I've seen two people ask the same question and a different answer comes. I've also seen Mohanji change the flavor, essence, or style according to the people who come to him. What's interesting is he's always said, I'm just a projection of the tradition. Mohanji doesn't exist. It might sound strange, but in a way, I understand that it means he's empty. What happens is, he said, the tradition uses him as an empty vessel of purity when someone connects to him and they may have had a previous connection in another life or even in this life with a different master. That master works through Mohanji to give a message to that person. If somebody is connected to Shirdi Sai Baba, that person will receive a message through Mohanji and feel the Shirdi Sai Baba. As a pure channel, whatever the person's connection to consciousness, he will reflect that for them and give them the appropriate guidance. And I've seen that with people. Some people will say that they see Shiva in Mohanji or Jagannath. Others see Sai Baba or another master. He reflects back what that person is and gives them specific guidance, interaction, or a connection that is unique to them. Nothing is generic. It's always the right medicine for that person. He will sometimes provide completely unorthodox solutions, which is typical of the Avaduta style. For example, someone is trying for a child. He has taken a banana, blessed it, and then told the two partners to break it in half and have a half banana each. Later, they would have a baby. There's no boundary for the solutions that he gives people, which, from an outside perspective, makes no sense. There's no pattern or structure, which can be very, very confusing. This is where faith is important. I think I'll stop here for today because this is quite a lot to chew on and quite a lot to think about. And what I can do is the remaining part I can record it and put it up so you can all watch it later. What an amazing story, isn't it? To those of you who are listening now. And it's wonderful because each time, as I was reading each paragraph, I did sense Mohanji, how he has acted in different ways with different people. So many things have happened. And I remember that specific time during the time when he had the gout, there was a program. Once he could get out of bed, even with severe pain, there was a program in Bangalore, and he really went limping. He said nobody should be made to wait. He didn't cancel the program. He went there and he did all that he had to do. There were many, many instances like this. So Mohanji never postpones, never waits for any time, even if he's ill. He just carries on with his work. I think it was a big, big eye opener for me. So if any of you would like to share anything about this, you're most welcome to. Please switch on your videos or even audio and please share anything you would like to say. This story, for those of you who joined late, is from Christopher Greenwood from our Guru Leela book 7. I'll continue the story as a recording in the later part. There's another 10 pages or more, so I'll read that later. Anything to be shared? Okay. If nothing, then we'll call it a day today. And I'll post this video as a recording of the remaining part of the story, so you can all listen to it. In the meantime, if you would like to, this recording will be up on Mohanji and I YouTube and Facebook page. The link will be provided. So please listen to it, because there's such a huge learning in this. Lots to learn, lots to contemplate on, and to see how we can change our lives by just listening to what Chris has learned with his experiences with Mohanji and living with Mohanji for more than 3 years. Yeah. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining in. And we'll meet again next Sunday, or at least you will definitely be listening to the remaining part of the Guru Leela. We'll be talking about that and more stories to come in the following weeks. So till then, stay safe, uh, contemplate on whatever you feel you need to contemplate on, and you can start doing the chanting also. And stay safe and be happy and stay stable. Till then, see you.
Thank you.
Jai
Thank,
Mohanji.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Jai
you.
Manji. Jai Manji.
Jai Mohanji.